What's good, y'all boys? Back again with another video. As you can see, I got AirPods in instead of those crinkly up headphones. They finally bit the dust, okay? Them shit stopped working. So all them comments that was talking shit about them headphones, be happy and rejoice. You're watching another Jubilee video. Trans women versus conservative women. This shit probably gonna trigger a couple of y'all, so hey, let's get started. Let's get bracking. I already know there's gonna be a lot of bullshit too, bro. But hey, let's take a listen.
The transgender movement is indoctrinating our youth.
We are seeing, especially on social media, on TikTok, you're seeing a lot of people in this community really just targeting children, and you're seeing drag shows, even in conservative states like Texas, and even just media, movies. Like, it seems like everything seems to be targeted at these kids. You have drag story hour for kids, and it's just really, I think, predatory in a way. And I'm not saying every trans person is doing this, but as a whole, there does seem to be a route that they're taking to get to the kids.
When you hear Blue's Clues playing in the next room, and then you hear the gay parade song, it's Blue's Clues, you're not expecting to be talking to the children about that. Yeah. It really makes you wonder, are they really coming for the children?
And I think we see in our population now.
They don't like when you say it that way. Coming for the children. No one's coming for your children. But, you know, it's like, it's a small percentage of the population, and they're trying to get their ideology into everybody. It's kind of strange.
Rate of young children who are identifying as transgender, non-binary is skyrocketing, and I think there's something to be said for people who are truly experiencing gender dysphoria, which we recognize.
I think like 20% of Gen Z identifies as that now.
Experiencing what is now going to be called, or in the future going to be called, this social contagion gender dysphoria, where they're being exposed to it on social media or in school, or mom and dad are having a conversation about it with children, and children are now starting to develop gender confusion.
Or even babies, right? People who are being born, they don't have to put the gender on the birth certificate, and they're saying you can choose whatever you want to be. Like, that's so dangerous. And even lying to them, saying like, oh, if we put you on hormone blockers at this age, it won't do anything to your puberty, it won't affect you long term. And it's just a straight up lie. And there's
listen, you can't mess with nature, bro. You cannot mess with nature. You can try, but Mother Nature will always have the last laugh. You can try to change your body all you want to, but what it's supposed to do is going to find a way to do what it's supposed to do anyway, regardless. It's going to fight back. Just like when you mow the grass outside, what happens? The grass grows back. So no matter what you do to try to alter nature, nature will find a way. Oh, God. Let's keep going.
Entire Reddit thread dedicated to people who transitioned, talking about how much they hate their life now because they transitioned as a child, and now they amputated off healthy body parts and are miserable.
Yep. Let's see what they're going to say about this. Let's see. What is their argument against it?
The fact that the trans movement has got people shook has me so excited. The trans movement is not indoctrinating our youth. Our youth are understanding who they are at a younger age. And from what I was hearing over here is...
That nigga look like Robin Williams in a wig. Oh, Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh my God. My bad. Nah, that's funny. You look like Miss Doubtfire. What are you talking about?
What y'all were saying, I wonder would you say it to the parents? Because we need to really look at what the parents of trans youth really go through. Trans youth, instead of them enjoying their life, playing with their friends, they're up in legislation trying to fight for basic rights here. 1 in 5 transgender youth have tried to commit suicide. Why are we trying to police them?
But you're bringing it only to the parents. The question was indoctrination in general, am I correct?
Maybe suicide rates are high because the people who are going through this mental illness are not receiving the help that they need. And instead of giving them help, you reaffirm their delusions and make it seem like, oh yes, it's completely 100% normal, and reality will bend to how you feel. I work with people with mental issues, bro. You can't just let them believe the stuff that they believe when it's not true. It's a recipe for a disaster, because reality is not going to meet halfway with your fantasy. Okay? Sorry.
But
I'm not sorry.
They're a part of that conversation. Someone said something about drag shows coming to schools or whatnot. The kids enjoyed it. The parents just had a problem with it. But that's their issue. It's only someone dressed in drag.
That motherfucker got some broad ass shoulders, boy.
Story.
Is
Strong
that
and
not
nigga.
blackface for women? I see it as a caricature of womanhood.
But inherently
As
sexual as
insulting.
well.
I have to agree with you guys. I do not like the drag queen social hours.
Oh, snap. Oh, shit. Okay. Why did... Hold on. What's this? On November 19th, one day before Transgender Day of Remembrance, a gunman opened fire inside an LGBTQ... Oh, the Club Q shooting in Colorado Springs, killing at least 5 people, injuring 25 others. I wonder why they brought that up, since that doesn't really have anything to do with the indoctrination conversation that they're having. Maybe they just brought it just to... Yeah, I don't know. What was the purpose of putting that there? I don't know.
I personally, as a trans person, didn't ever go to a drag show until I was about 40. I'm not for the sexualization of kids. Why are we not letting kids be kids and bringing sex into their lives so early?
I think it's predatory in general to talk about sex.
That big ass motherfucker ain't like that shit. He ain't like that.
Regard straight sex, any kind of sex.
Who's teaching sex to third-grade children? I really want to know.
Have you looked at
Them activists, y'all motherfuckers, bro. They be in that thing butt naked. Not butt naked, but some of them be in their underwear. Some of them be half naked, walking around dancing with kids, and want to dance with kids. They be half naked. It's strange, bro.
the California curriculum for sex education?
Everywhere.
You need to.
Ooh, and you remember that too. Remember that comment, right? This person speaking on something, but then I never even looked into it. The black trans woman. Remember that for something that she's gonna say later. He's gonna say later. Don't ban me, YouTube.
I know that when I was in preschool, I got my first crush on a boy because to me at the time, he was in kindergarten, he looked like Prince Eric from Little Mermaid. Yeah, Little Mermaid. I don't think like him ever crossed my mind when I was 4, but obviously like it would have been good to know that like it's okay like if you have these feelings for someone of the same sex.
Okay, so you're gay.
Think of youth in general, they're having sex at a lot younger age, whether we like it or not. Let's just keep it 100% real.
You don't think it's because of that?
I do not think it's because of that. It starts at home with parents teaching their children, because one or two things is going to happen. Either you teach your children or the world is going to teach your kids. That's the reality.
Yeah, that's facts, and that's what people are trying to avoid, because y'all motherfuckers out in the world is trying to teach people, kids, some other shit. That, hey, that's some other shit, bruh. It's some other shit on God. So, they got a point. Teach your kids, or the world, program your kids, or the world is going to program them for you.
Of it.
They are learning about it at younger ages from some adult or even their peers who learned about it from adults. Mm-hmm. That is, in definition, indoctrination. As a mother and seeing what my children are going to
have... Okay, Aaliyah.
To be introduced to at such a young age. Like, I didn't even know what a gay person was till I was like 12. And so they're going to be having these really heavy adult conversations at a really young age just because of their exposure. And that is honestly just scary because I don't want to have those conversations. That's why I will be homeschooling my kids because I do believe it is my responsibility to protect them and shield them from the outside world, which is targeting children.
The trans community and the trans movement is really shaking the course of what people think gender identity is supposed to be.
So in one sentence, you're saying that you guys are not responsible for the indoctrination that's currently happening with
Absolutely
children.
not.
And in the second sentence, you are saying we are shook by the fact that you are responsible for it.
No, you are shook at the fact.
I've seen her before. I'm not sure what her name is, but I've seen her popping up on my YouTube lately. It's conservative, biracial black woman. I've watched some of her videos. I be liking what she be saying.
The fact that the trans movement has become what it is.
And a movement that influences people all over the world, and particularly children. And we see it in the fact that the number of young people identifying as transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, genderqueer is skyrocketing.
Oh, speaking of, going back to that Club Q shooting, right? Apparently, this is what the lawyer said. the shooter is a non-binary person. So I don't know if that fits the narrative that some white supremacist shooter went and did all that stuff, bro. I don't know. If that person's non-binary, then... But that's still a developing story.
Which means that children are being exposed to these ideas, and it's certainly coming from institutions like the media,
Social
like
media,
Hollywood, like our public institutions and schools. So to say that that is not happening, or to deny that that is the reality, negates the numbers that we're seeing.
Oh God, they be so quick to say, "Oh, we're not indoctrinating nobody. We're not pushing anyone's kids into this," but then at the same time, they brag about how much influence and how much they're spreading their message. So it's like, bro, pick one. Pick one. Either you're not able to influence people, or you're happy that you're influencing people.
Is that the idea that there is a single transgender movement and ideology is disingenuous, and that at its core, being transgender is about separating sex from sex roles and gender roles that are compulsory.
Do you think that children should be able to transition medically?
No.
I think
No.
it just really depends on each individual situation.
Of course, this one wasn't going to say a yes or a no, because they know, that nigga know, that the answer should be no. A kid should not be going through no type of surgery that's going to be cutting off parts of their still developing body. That'll make sense. But people like this person, right? People that have an agenda that doesn't make sense logically, they cannot afford to concede to the opposition's point. Because if they concede, that means they set up they set themselves up to be able to concede for other points that will be made too. So they gotta seem consistent with it. That's all it is.
You should be able to make the best medical decision for them.
Yeah, shut that shit up, boy. So trans women should be allowed in sports. Let's see what they say.
Allowed to compete in women's sports.
I do think that trans women have every right to compete in women's sports. When trans women are on hormones, the hormones break their...
Of course. Look at that. The biggest motherfucker there is the only one to go and agree with that shit. Hey! Look at this. The name's Blossom. You was not no fucking Blossom. You were a Venus flytrap. Big brolic ass plant. Yo, isn't that funny though? But think about it. That motherfucker look bigger than me. And they're the one saying that, yes, trans women, biological males, should be able to play sports and compete against women. Real women. Isn't that kind of funny, bro?
Body down. Having gender affirming surgery breaks down the body. And so I think we really need to be educated before we jump to a conclusion that trans women are stronger than cis women in sports.
Even his own people disagree with that motherfucker. That's crazy.
Body.
I find it interesting that you assume the people who disagree with you are uneducated, and I will speak out against that. I think the research shows that trans women do happen to have a biological advantage against biological women. Even though you are taking hormones, and that does start to change your body and level things out. We're talking about primarily people who have transitioned post-puberty, which means they do have male bone density, male wingspan, male hand size, feet size, lung capacity. All of these things are going against women, biological women, when trans women start to enter their spaces, their sports, and compete against them. And this is really concerning for me.
I think for me, it's not a question of whether or not trans women can compete in sports. It's a question of how can we change the institution of sports in this country to make it equitable and to create more opportunity for cis women, for trans women. And like that's kind of like why I wanted to actually ask you all, like, what has your relationship to sports been?
Well, see, I hate when they say shit like this, because it'd be the people that never did nothing with sports and have no idea about how sports is talking about this and saying shit like this. Sports is about winning. It's about winning, losing, and working as a team. And being better than who you were yesterday. It's about training hard and trying to improve. It's not equitable. It's whoever's the best wins. It's competition. That's what it is. These soft motherfuckers, and a lot of times it be soft ass beta males or soft behind females, or a lot of these activists, feminists, transgender, LGBT activists that are just soft as hell and have no idea of how this shit work, how life works, how sports work. And they're very anti-masculinity, anti-men, and they see competitiveness as a toxic male trait, even though women are extremely competitive with each other as well. So they see competition as a bad thing, because if people compete, that means obviously someone has to be better than the other person. And oh no, we're all the same, we're all equal. No one can be better than another person. No one can be better than another person. No, shut that shit up. Shut.
Okay, I found this on the web. And they see competitiveness
Bro.
as a toxic male.
Siri, shut up, man.
I think you have to have a direct relationship to sports to realize that women are being affected by this issue, and I do reject the idea of equity. There is
ma'am.
no way to come about an equality
Of outcome.
which is what equity is saying. There's a reason that women's sports are less funded and less watched than men's sports. It's because men seem to excel athletically, and they seem to press the bounds of athleticism way farther than women do.
And women don't
Now
want to
it's
watch that shit. That's not what they like. It is what it is.
just on a slippery slope. If it's female sports, is it then female locker rooms? Is it then female prisons, which we're now seeing becoming an issue here in
I
California?
think Nikita Dragun, trans woman. If you didn't know, you'd probably think that's actually a girl for real. They had locked their ass up in a male prison or something like that. And I think there was one, I forgot where this was, but there was a story where a trans woman put into a female prison. So a biological male put into a female prison. And guess what? I think he got like 2 of them inmates pregnant.
Biological male inmates are being put in female facilities because they identify as women. We have to discuss as a society how much we give into the feelings of wanting everybody to be accepted and how much we are willing to do that at the expense of biological women.
I use myself as an example. This is about how big I was in junior high school and early high school. I used to be able to walk up to a V8 engine block, pick it up off the floor, and set it on a table. And if I was in powerlifting or weightlifting, that amount of, that advantage was just unbelievable. I've been on hormones for 15 years.
Hold on. This is what he talking about. Focus. Now tell me, what 120-pound woman is picking that shit up? What 180-pound woman is picking that shit up? I probably ain't picking that shit up. Well, I probably can, but still, yo.
Did it weaken me? Absolutely. Did my bone density really hasn't changed?
Nope.
My muscular hasn't changed. And this is not a binary question. There's a lot of nuances involved.
I just want to ask a question for what you were saying. Can you throw out some statistics?
I don't think you need to have there's an abundance of research. There's even trans activists who agree with exactly what I'm saying. And your hormones can change, right? And even she just spoke to the fact that her bone density did not change in going on hormones and changing.
This is what they do, right? They worry about statistics when they feel like it. That motherfucker right there just tried to do a gotcha moment. You're saying all this stuff that is right and I'm wrong, so how can I try to trip you up? Oh, do you have any statistics? Do you have any statistics? Oh, I don't think so. Well, I guess you're not real research. So you shouldn't be talking about it. Bro, in a conversation with somebody, unless you have all the statistics of your argument written out beforehand, like you're in a debate club, no one is going to throw a random statistics, accurate statistics back to back to back in an hour plus long conversation. This video is 40 minutes long, but I know they filmed and was sitting there for at least 2 to 3 hours. They were sitting there for at least 2 hours. And there's probably more of this conversation that was cut out. They just put the best parts, the meaty parts in it. So, bro, no one's got statistics off the ass, okay? Shut up. but you can Google them and you can find them real quick.
These things,
Yeah.
and we can see it in sports as we're watching them. Leah Thomas is a great example.
So if you can't throw out the statistics, we're not doing enough of the work. And let's also be
disagree.
clear.
Look at that. See what I said? Exactly what I said. You don't have the statistics? Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Motherfucker did exact, bro. It's the playbook. There's a playbook of these argument, debate, manipulation tactics. Get you to admit that you don't have something and then use it against you. Get you to admit that you don't know something and use it against you. Oh, Amala, I hope you can bounce back. Amala been shaking her head like this throughout this whole video, and it's really funny.
Let's also be clear, there are some cisgender women who produce high levels of testosterone as well. And so we really have to unpack it from all different sides here.
Can you produce statistics about the bone density of biological men and how it changes upon being on hormones and whether or not it levels out to biological women?
She flipped it
I
back.
actually cannot, because when I would think of those statistics, I would think it was BS, to be quite honest with you, because the reality of it is we could talk about statistics and the research all day long, but it's about experience. We're gonna be looking more at the experience, because again, when we look at
This big, brolic, big shoulder, big arm, tall, 6'5" black motherfucker just said to her, you don't have the statistics? Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. The little light-skinned girl asked her, do you have the statistics? Oh, well, I don't believe in the statistics. They're bullshit. Then why did you try to discredit me for not having them if you think they're bullshit anyway? Look what, bro. What? I don't want to watch this shit no more. Listen, it's about to be 2023. I'm sick and tired of these conversations. I ain't gonna lie to you. But they're necessary because people need to see what these people do. Look what this motherfucker did. Bro, you think we slow or something?
cisgender women who produce high levels of testosterone and who have been kicked out of sports and been disqualified from teams based on something that they biologically cannot control, then what are we really talking about here?
Well, we're talking about, I mean, data.
Bro, that was one person. That was one girl, one female, I think she ran track. One female track runner from Africa. And yeah, that was messed up because that was a biological woman. Okay, her testosterone was just high. It is what it is. So I agree with that. That was messed up. But that was one case. One case, and it does not equal the amount of cases that this is going on, right? Of trans women whooping biological women's asses in sports. Leah Thomas, this one power lifter. There's this one wrestler from high school. And the women be scared to speak up. Not me.
That is overwhelming. And we're talking about what is also we're capable of seeing with our human eyes. I think it's very clear that if you compare...
And facts, too. That one right there, the one that looked like Robin Williams, Miss Doubtfire, literally gave their experience from before they did their transition. And literally said, I got a little bit weaker, but I'm still strong as shit. What I was doing, what I could still do, a regular biological woman could not do, bruh.
You to the rest of us, there is going to be a strength difference. There's going to be a bone density difference.
But you're just saying that you don't know until we physically do something. And just perceiving and assuming just because I look a certain way, that's not fair. Me, her could look, we could look completely different or whatever, but she may be stronger than me.
I agree, but
she have much more agility and vitality than I do. We don't know that until you actually do it.
I'm saying it has been studied, it's been done.
And it's been done.
That is the biggest, they're the biggest one there. What are you talking about? Hey, bro, that is the, bro, that motherfucker like he pushing at least 250, 255. Bro, what the fuck are you talking about agility for? Why are you talking about agility? Their arms is bigger than half of them girls' heads, okay?
But it's an assumption. But we're only going on assumption at this point. Because again,
it's not assumption when we see it. Maybe it's the news cycle that I watch, but I see it a lot. I see it quite often where they're showing trans women beating. I mean, I'm by far.
And you don't see women
Biological
dominating in the men's sports, right? You don't see trans men going into men's sport and just completely dominating and wiping the field with them. This is what happens when you,
Good point.
in my opinion, twist God's design.
Uh-oh.
And when you go against God's
Who
design,
laughed?
you create these problems that you wouldn't have if you weren't going against what God intended.
I'm going to take her side a little bit on that.
Yeah, a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
say
times
one more-
when you talk to these people and you bring up God and you say God's vision, God's image, you kind of lose some ground in the argument because that's an easy point for them to try to dismantle. Because, religion is a concept, the idea of God, the concept of God. A lot of people have different ideas and different concepts of God is what I'm saying. So God might be one thing to me, but somebody else, it could be 3 different things. So it's easy for them to pick that apart. And yeah, so it's best to just try to steer clear of it, really. And it's easy for them to paint you as like some type of whatever. And it dilutes your message.
more thing, and I'm supporting you on this one. There's a great deal of women that, and actually there was a lady in the last Olympics that they actually disqualified until she went on androgen blockers to knock her testosterone down to a female level. Like I said, this is not a binary yes or no question, and the whole idea of messing with what God puts up, God put me up, okay, if you want to take that. And I had this conversation with a very religious man in San Diego, and he was like, oh, I don't quite know how to deal with that.
And God made you that way, but he didn't make a lot of the people transitioning.
I understand.
No, but God also
or
understands
female.
my transition. God, first of all, knew what I was going to be in my life. God already knew I was going to be trans when God put me here. So I
why
don't think
didn't
it's
he make
fair.
you
I don't think it's fair when
female?
people dip and dab. Your relationship with God is...
It kind of, okay. What she said, light skin girl, Amala? No. Aaliyah. What she said, okay, you feel like you were a girl, right? So why didn't God put you in a girl's body? You know what I mean? But then, a lot of times with that same argument, to refute that, they'll say like, okay, well, why did God make disease? Why did God make people that are serial killers? Why did God make anything that's bad? But, it's because of free will. We're all results of free will. God gave us the gift, the blessing, and sometimes a curse of free will. So people are going to do what they're going to do. You know what I mean? And where we are today is a result of people doing what they do.
Gender dysphoria is real.
Yep. Oh, okay. They all agree.
I think it is obviously real because many people experience it, but like any kind of dysphoria, whether it's someone who thinks they're overweight or anything, I think it should be treated as not reality. Like if I thought I was obese, I wouldn't want to go to a affirming therapist to tell me, yes, you are obese and you should, get skinnier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had the opportunity of working on the DSM-4, I think it was, when we actually declassified transgender dysphoria from a mental illness to a condition. I had been, at that point in time, I'd been cross-dressing for 50 years. And, because
Gina.
that dysphoria was there and every single thing I did to try to drive it away didn't work. I spent millions of dollars trying to be the coolest dude in the world. I bought airplanes, I bought everything.
That motherfucker got bread. What the fuck? Who is this person? What you mean you buy airplanes?
To just show the world how masculine I was. It didn't work.
Gender dysphoria almost made me kill myself. And coming from Mississippi, at the time, there wasn't a lot of access to gender-affirming resources, like hormones, if I wanted surgery, whatever the case may be. And a lot of us trans folks who don't have access like that, a lot of us have to do sex work to be able to afford some of these things as well. Me coming up at the age of 20, and I knew I had a serious gender dysphoria, I did things to my body that I should have went to a hospital to do. That is something that
Sounds like mental illness, bro. Same thing as people that self-harm. You need help, bro. I mean, what they say? They start doing sex work because they can't afford the procedures and stuff. Like, what? Do you want people to pay for it for you? That's anybody. You know what I'm saying? Any type of procedure, if they can't afford it, they can't get it. So that's a whole different type of problem. But I'm sure if you get a regular job, you can make some type of payment plans, bro. You know what I mean? It is what it is, bro.
It's very, very hard for people to understand. A lot of us commit suicide because of gender dysphoria, and so it hits our community a lot harder.
I do think gender dysphoria is very much real. I think the issue that's happened, especially in the space of science and research, is that we've looked at gender dysphoria and said the only source of care that we can go through is blind gender affirmation care. And a lot
Receipt of gender-affirming interventions, specifically PBs or GAHs, was associated with 60% lower odds of moderate to severe depressive symptoms and 73% lower odds of self-harm or suicidal thoughts during the first year of multidisciplinary gender care. So they say when people get gender-affirming interventions, well, what's PB and GAA? I don't know what that is. Is that the surgeries? Oh, puberty blockers, PBs. What's GAH? Gender-affirming healthcare? I don't know, bro. I guess pretty much just saying what the treatments that they get lowers the odds of depression and self-harm in the first year. I don't think that's true, though, because I saw a statistic that said that, like, the suicide rate was around the same, bro, even after they transition. So, I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
A lot of the research shows that this is not the route to go into. In other countries that have decided to do nonpartisan research, Sweden, Finland, have decided that, yes, gender affirmation care should be an
Swedish,
option.
they brought it up. For adolescents with gender incongruence, the NBHW, National Board of Health and Welfare, deems that the risk of puberty suppressing treatment with analysis gender affirming hormone currently outweigh. Oh wow, they actually showed that on there. They said the risks of puberty suppressing treatment, so the risk of puberty blockers outweighs the possible benefits, and that the treatment should be offered only in exceptional cases. Wow, I didn't think Jubilee would have showed that. That's crazy. I swear somebody got in trouble for showing that shit.
But it really should be the last resort when it comes to treating people who appear at clinics with gender dysphoria. You know, a lot of conservatives will deny and say, well, gender affirmation care does not make them happier. And in many cases, that is true. But there are the cases like yourselves where the gender affirmation care does make them happier.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people that have transitioned, have untransitioned. I've talked with a gentleman at a religious right convention one day, and he was sitting there screaming how Jesus got him out of his gender transition. And honestly, that was the saddest man I've ever talked to in my life. When I looked at him straight in the eyes and I said, you know, here, I don't agree with what you say, but I 100% support your right to say that. And he just literally broke down crying.
I got respect for this Gina, okay? Respect.
To the Supreme Court.
If I could interject really quickly, I do.
No, absolutely not.
I feel as though the medical profession is actually inching towards a space that is going to become unsafe for people who try to express their gender dysphoria, because now we have young children coming into clinics expressing this, who by and large, statistically, about 60 to 70% grow out of that dysphoria.
Yeah.
But because it's become a political issue.
They didn't try to fact check her that time.
Many activists have come in and say, no, you blindly affirm, you affirm to the furthest extent that you can, rather than going through a more comprehensive process with these children. We have what I think is a medical tragedy happening against young people in this country.
Damn. I'm going to be breaking up this video into parts, so that's the end of this part. Let me know if you want to see more, because this video got a lot of content, a lot of different things we could talk about. That should be their own videos, to be honest. Instead of one long video, I could drop multiple back-to-back. That'll be good. All right. See you in the next one.